Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where I talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Supernatural as well as the latest episode of Beyond. Like always, if I'm talking about something you don't want to listen to, you can always look in the description down below. I include the time winners, so I talk about each of the respective shows. So, for example, if you want to hear what I say about this week's episode of Supernatural, you can skip to what I had to say about this week's episode of Beyond. But the first thing I'm going to talk about is this week's episode of Supernatural. Another great episode. I was thinking the whole situation with Castiel and Lucifer playing out the way it did, like it's just like, oh, Cass walking off by himself. I'm like, that's a little suspicious. And then he went back looking for Lucifer's body and didn't find it. I thought some twisted thing was happening where it's like, oh, Cass doesn't really know this, but Lucifer's possessed his body or something like that. Isn't Lucifer still bound to that body? Because I know he broke free of Crowley's things and everything, but isn't he still stuck to that one body? I think that still applies. That might be something he still not be able to kind of break out. Those wards might be a little too strong. But I don't know. I just thought there was something up. I was like, oh man, this is suspicious or whatever. Maybe Cass is possessed by him. Maybe it'll be something where it's like, oh, one moment like Cass will be in control, but the next moment Lucifer would. I thought it might be something like that. Turns out I'll be completely wrong, but nevertheless. I love the fact is that Cass comes back and tells Dean and Sam everything. It's like, oh yeah, Asmodeus had us. The person you've been talking to, yeah, that was Asmodeus. I've been captured by him for like weeks with Lucifer. Wait, Lucifer's back? Yeah, Lucifer's back. And it's just like everything hitting them. It was pretty nice of him not to tell them the truth about Mary though, because Lucifer told him last episode, like, oh yeah, your mom, like, their mom is kind of going through a lot of like stuff. Like basically Michael's breaking her mentally, just all the stuff he's doing to her, which I guess it's one of those situations of like, I guess the way, angels were kind of like this whole angels versus demons situation, like heaven versus hell, Michael versus Lucifer way back when, even back then, like in season 5, it was like, yeah, that still was going to be a sucky situation for everyone because it led the world being in the state that it's in. But you would think like, oh, though angels are all about everything, like peace and everything, that you would think, or I mean, they still look at humans kind of like ants and stuff like that, but you thought there'd be at least something better about it. But it's like, no, we see the alternate reality with Michael. Lucifer's dead, and Michael's still kind of not really a good guy. So the last thing you want is him in this world. So you would think that was kind of Asmodeus' biggest thing, like going forward. It seems like that's kind of his thing now. It's like, well, last thing he wants is anyone opening a portal. Because even if it's to get Jack, he still probably doesn't want to open that portal just to take the chance that Michael might slip through. And it's like, yeah, Lucifer's one thing. Last thing we want is another archangel on our, to kind of deal with. So I felt so bad for that Cupid that Lucifer ended up killing. I was like, oh man, you steal his grace and everything. At first I was like, oh man, he obviously didn't take all your grace. And it's like, no, he took all his grace. Oh, never mind. And then proceeded to he ended up turning human and then punched a hole in his chest. I was like, ugh. Which I guess there was I don't know if it was necessarily his chest or his mid-range area. Let's assume it's his chest just for the symbolism of him being a Cupid and everything. And it's like, oh yeah, I killed. I was thinking like the way like Lucifer was getting all shivery and kind of double vision. I'm like, oh my God, are we going to have some twisted like insanity ensuing where it's like, oh, he becomes a Cupid now, like that whole power to want to create love and stuff is driving him. It's like, oh no, it's because he's turning human because his grace is so low. He's becoming human himself. He's getting hungry and he's having to beg for money. And it's just like, he's really stepping on the boundaries of being human. Like, this is Lucifer, the weakest he's ever been. Like, yes, he's been powerless against people like, God, what's God's sister's name again? I'm blanking, and it's going to bother the crap out of me that I'm blanking on his sister's name. Or, like, Lucifer's aunt. Was it Amara? Wasn't that it? I feel like I'm blanking on it. Nevertheless, at least then, even though he was weak compared to her, he still had all his powers and everything. But nevertheless, what really took me by surprise was him meeting this angel named Anil. Anil? Her being like trying to strike a deal. Like the fact is she's not even shaking. Even Lucifer, like, really? That's all you gotta say? Oh, that I'm Lucifer? I mean, usually people kind of disappoint when people start shaking, begging for their lives. But for her, it's like, I like her mentality, and I like what they're setting her up to be, because it's like immediately you could tell what she wanted. Because for her, it's like everyone else like tripped. Like people were so short-sighted, they would jump. Like when the angels fell back in season 8, they just jumped in whatever body they could. Season finale of season 8 to be exact. But it's like oh, they jumped into whatever body they could. It's like me, I thought about it long. She thought of a long way, because now it's like, oh, supporting yourself as a human too and everything. That's the whole complication all on its own. But basically, she's been performing miracles to like pay for stuff. So, so her way of handling this was kind of interesting. Basically, she made Lucifer go like, "Hey, why don't you take some of my grace, give it enough time to recharge, and you just keep coming back to me like a tap. Get a little bit each time, a little bit each time. If you completely drain me, that means you're just gonna have to jump to another angel. It's like, why not come? I guess like as long as he doesn't expend enough power at a time, like if as long as he doesn't expend too much power that he's getting back from draining her grace. I mean, I'm curious like what." I'm curious, like, what the metrics are, like a regular angel's typical grace level compared to that of a archangel. Because like, I did completely forget about that whole aspect of like having most of your grace token. Because I was thinking like to complete the spell, I thought Michael took some of Lucifer's grace. I didn't realize just how much of a huge chunk of Lucifer's grace he took when he did. He probably left him down to probably make the argument of maybe like 25%. I'd say at least a quarter. I feel like it might be that level. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's actually more. Maybe he did leave him at least half, but nevertheless, it's a state that Lucifer's never been in before. But nevertheless, the fact is she's so into it. And like, I immediately could tell just like her talking to Lucifer and everything. It's almost like, especially when they had that moment of laying down, because it was almost like they were almost exhausted, like, ooh, like almost we had sex. I thought it was going to lead there, but it's like, no, he just drained her grace. And it was just kind of, I guess, the equivalency of having sex. But she's going to bring up an interesting thing of like, she liked it because it brought her to the level of almost being human, because she almost felt what they could feel. Which Lucifer's like, oh, that's cool that you feel that way. I hate it. Like, being cold and hungry, it's the worst. And he's like, oh yeah, look at me. I'm back to being Lucifer, the king of light, the prince of darkness. Which is almost kind of interesting, the way he kind of had to puff himself up like that, because I think the human side of him was kicking in, where he's actually kind of feeling probably a little bit of regret about that. Because I'm curious, like, the only thing that keeps Lucifer from feeling bad is the fact is that he is an angel. Like, angels kind of don't get too caught up in the whole sympathy thing, Cass being one of the few exceptions to that. So I'm curious, like, if he did become human, like, what would happen? Would he regret what he's done? Oh my God, would he turn into a sniveling mess? Or, like, what would happen? But like I said, also, like, him and Anio, like, this relationship they're kind of building. Even her turning against the Winchesters and, Cass, because I was looking out, because she's like, oh my God, like, it's like, I was like, had an inkling, I was like, she's lying, isn't she? I was like, is she really? Because I was like, she hasn't really been explaining that he's been feeding on her grace. I was like, maybe she is actually helping him. And it's like, yeah, and then she gave him Lucifer that one. It's like, yeah, they think you're still in your weakened state. And I'm like, yep, she's helping him. Because for her, it's like, oh yeah, you help me, I help you. I help you, but you in turn help me. It's kind of interesting, especially when Lucifer got away. He's like, ooh, need to get back in shape. But I also, like I said, because for her, she's a lady with ambition. She wants to be queen, because she was always kind of literally a button pusher was her job. Because she counted souls. That was literally her job. And it's like, oh, I knew how to fix heaven, but no one wanted to hear what I had to say. And so she's using this as an opportunity to kind of rise through the ranks. It's like, if I have Lucifer by my side, if I prove to still be useful, I can be like queen of everything, especially because once Lucifer gets back to full strength, he's going to kick some serious ass. Is kind of her mentality. But what took me by surprise is the fact is that the person they turn to is the angels. I mean, the angels are already got dwindling numbers, and they need Lucifer's help, especially because Lucifer lies and says like, oh, well, I don't know if it's a lie, but he's like, oh, I saw my dad make angels all the time. Like, I'm old enough to have been there. I'm one of the earliest sons. So obviously I know what it was like for him to make angels and stuff. So yeah, I can do it, which is like, I'm sure that's you just lying. And also the aspect of like, oh, he can give them their wings back. I don't know. What about Lucifer and his wings? Like when he fell, I don't. Maybe they brought that up before. I don't ever remember being an archangel and everything. Like his falling was very different, because I guess his falling was more like he was cast out of heaven by God rather than just kind of cast / yanked out by a spell that everyone else is kind of yanked out by. I don't know. Maybe that's something. It's been a while, so I don't know if that's ever really been a thing of establishing like he doesn't have his wings anymore and on. Because once again, like. I brought it up in the TV show Lucifer, and I'm going to bring it up here because obviously there's comparisons between two. Because in that show, Lucifer's like, yeah, he doesn't have his wings, but that's because he cut his off willingly. I doubt this Lucifer would do that. But nevertheless, just stop comparing and contrasting. It's just kind of interesting. Like, I brought it up in that too. Like, it's just interesting because there's a TV show Lucifer, learning some things from that, and then also taking this show and learning some things about it. It's just kind of, it's kind of interesting. But nevertheless, he's kind of running heaven for now, like as its ruler, because I'm sure having an army of angels on his side works in two ways. For one, he's not, well, actually three. One, he's not back at full strength, so he could use the muscle for, well, that muscle could be used for two things. I keep bouncing back and forth between the number 2 and 3. Make up your mind, Michael. One could be he needs an army to kind of help him just in case Asmodeus comes after him, especially in his weakness. Like I said, it comes back to that whole metric. Like how long would he have to basically suck on Angel's grace? Like how much grace would he get back from a angel typically compared to his maximum capacity of his own? Like, I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure it's leaps and bounds just because archangels are like stupidly strong like that. But still, it's just kind of an interesting thing. But there's also that, but it's also probably just in case of like Michael getting through, and you're going to need an army of sacrificial angels to kind of go through. But the thing is, even at full strength, he still couldn't beat Michael, which is kind of interesting. So I don't know whether it's a situation of like Michael had absorbed like that Lucifer's grace from, as Sam calls it, Earth 2, which I love. But not unless that ended up kind of supercharging him or whatever. Just the fact is that he outmatched Lucifer. Not unless it's just because transferring over into that world, maybe Lucifer was in a little bit of a weakened state, so Michael had the upper hand. Maybe just because Lucifer kind of got caught off guard. I don't know. But the fact is, he has an army of angels by his side, which is kind of interesting. I mean, to be fair, it's not like an army because it's still the whole situation of, they got dwindling numbers. But he has Aniel as his, she's kind of his queen right now, taking advantage of this situation. So that's an interesting turn in the story in that regard. And then on top of all of that, we have the Ketch situation where it's like, should we trust Ketch or not? But he has helped them out. Again and again, he helped them kind of right when Lucifer was about to basically kill them. And what really took me by surprise was because at first he didn't mention, he's like, they're like, why do you want to kill Lucifer? It's like, well, I can, it basically build up my reputation. It's good for business because it's like, I'm the dude that killed Lucifer. There's that. But then later on, he's like, okay, I can help you out. You don't believe me? Okay, I'll tell you. The fact is I'm working for Asmodeus. And it's like, why would that make us trust you more? Like, why would we want to hear that? It's like, the fact of the matter is you can use this as an opportunity. You can use me to use him because I can learn information from him and try and give it back to you. Which is interesting considering the fact is Asmodeus has Donatello like under a spell where it's like, you tell me whatever it is you find out. Maybe it's specifically regarding the tablet, so maybe it won't be an issue because they're having this whole conversation about Ketch. I don't know whether they had a whole conversation about like, Ketch is, going to rat on Asmodeus for us, or it's like, should we trust Ketch? So I don't know if it's something like that. Maybe he actually knows because they were like, because they kind of gave this look to Donatello. So I don't know whether just because they knew he was stressing out because of the tablet, or was it because like Ketch told him because Asmodeus told Ketch like, he's our inside guy. So maybe they could twist it to make it seem like, Ketch is working for us, but secretly we don't know he's working for Asmodeus. So it means he's actually double agenting us when in actuality he's kind of triple agenting it up. That was kind of a mouthful to say. So it's hard to say who knows what at this point in time. I feel like they don't know about Donatello, but like I said, maybe it's a situation of Ketch did tell him because Asmodeus told him. But either way, because I don't know. Just that look at the end, like that cascade moment. I figured it was more so like, because he's stressing out because of the whole trying to read a demon tablet and trying to unravel it and get the spell. I am curious about what the ingredients are because it sounded like from what Donatello was saying, like there's kind of some hardcore ingredients in that batch. What exactly? We'll just kind of have to wait and see, but still. But the episode continues to twist and turn where it's like, like Asmodeus actually has a weapon that can kill Lucifer, even if Lucifer was at full strength, but they're probably still hoping to strike before he gets to full strength, is an archangel blade. And it's like, that is something I never thought about before. Angels have all these blades floating around and stuff like that, but what about archangels? Where's their swords and everything? And question is, whose blade is that? Is that just anybody's blade? Like, what's the deal about that? Like, where did their blades go? Like, when Lucifer stopped being one? Or what about Michael when they summoned him? Like, where was his blade at? Like, those are questions I'm surprised never really got answered. Like I said, it's something I never thought about before. It's like, archangels have them. Angels have them, so why wouldn't archangels have one as well? But it turns out that they could be wielded by anyone, but their true power probably can't come out until an archangel touches it. And it's like, well, how are you going to use that against Lucifer? It's like, oh well, because we actually have one. Lo and behold, Gabriel, which is always that thing about Gabriel throughout the series. I can't, like, it's been back and forth about, oh, is he alive? Is he dead? Did he fake his death? Like, I don't remember. Like, it's been such a long time, and like, I'm sure he popped up subsequently, but I don't remember. It's been so long, and he goes back and forth. But I don't remember when was the last time we saw Gabriel, because I remember one of the last times he was supposedly dead was... Who was he going up against at that time? It was someone he went up against that was basically slaughtering, like, because it was around the time, like, because he pretended to be the god Loki around the other Norse gods and stuff like that, and some of them got away, and he sacrificed himself. But I don't remember. I think that might have been Lucifer in actuality, which is kind of interesting. But we see him; he's all bloodied up, so. That was like one of the last times we saw him. I think that was like season 5, maybe? But I definitely know we've seen him subsequently since. I just don't remember. Like I said, this is what Supernatural does. It brings back character. Like I said, it's been such a long time, I don't remember. If you remember, do let me know. Probably just going to be something I look up by myself. But still, I am curious, like, when's the last time he popped up in the show? So that kind of makes things a little easier. So... That also means there's a weapon available when they need to go head to head with Michael, because you know Michael's going to come across. Because I actually thought that was going to be the twist. It's like, oh, we saw someone with straggly hair. I was like, oh my God, they pulled Michael out of the pit. And it's like, oh no, we got Gabriel. That's still awesome too, which I'm still wondering, where the hell is Michael? Because there's a whole thing about like, oh, when we're in the cell with Lucifer, it's like, oh, where's Michael? He's somewhere. You know, I left him kind of a blubbering mess, but I guess because Michael's already back in a story from an alternate world, they're not trying to throw him in like Earth 1's, Michael, just to kind of confuse things. So, but that's just a very nice twist, which is like, Gabriel's like one of the less like douchey archangels. He's a pretty cool guy. So very fun. So it's definitely going to be interesting going forward. Also notice the fact that his mouth is stitched. I think that's probably just because Asmodeus did it, because it's like, well, he's kind of, well, because I was about to say, it's like, oh, what did he, well, because the errand that Asmodeus went on was getting the angel blade. Was it also getting Gabriel too? Like, did he track down, like, oh yeah, Gabriel tracked him down at the same time? Is that actually, well, if it was his, why hasn't he used it before now if it was Gabriel's? Like, not unless his is stashed away or something. The reason, what I was going to say first is the reason why he most likely has Gabriel's mouth stitched up is like, oh yeah, because Gabriel's kind of a smartass. He always like has some like sarcastic, or not necessarily sarcastic, but he has like some like funny retort or something like that. He talks a lot. So I'm sure that was kind of like one big reason behind it. But the thing is, like, when did Asmodeus capture him? Was it sometime when... Now, I feel like Lucifer would have brought that up, but then again, so it has to be something Asmodeus did. Not unless it's something Crowley secretly did, but it's like, Crowley wouldn't have the muscle to do that. Which even begs the question, how was Asmodeus able to do it? Just considering maybe Gabriel is just not as strong. Maybe that's something we'll find out like in the next episode. But it's like, how would... even like Asmodeus is actually afraid of Lucifer, because it's like, if Lucifer gets back to full strength, he's going to massacre everyone. Kind of get the feeling that's going to be the angels too, because like that's always been Lucifer's thing. It's like he kind of opens up to like NIL about the whole situation, because it's like for him it's like, he's always tried to do everything. He always wanted to fit in. Like NIL was kind of like always kind of ostracized. Like, she wanted to kind of prove that she was better than everyone. So, like, coming to Earth was actually a good thing for her, because she got to prove, like, hey, I'm actually on top of things. So, just kind of like why she's kind of doing this whole Lucifer deal again and everything. But for Lucifer, he always wanted to fit in, always wanted to impress the dad, that just nothing he did was good enough. So, there's that, daddy issues. No matter what series you go in, Lucifer's always got those. But nevertheless, it's kind of a terrible dad, so it's like I'm most likely going to repeat the same thing, which, like I said, that very human moments he has, because just being low in the tank. But even with all the grace he had absorbed at that time, there was still that humanity peeking through. I mean, to be fair, the same thing happened to Crowley. Crowley was starting to gain that human traits and stuff like that. So maybe it's to that point, because Lucifer was so low on grace, that it is kind of creeping in. Maybe that's something we'll see completely disappear, but maybe we'll see remnants of it as the season progresses on. So I don't know. We'll just kind of have to wait and see. But like I said, some very, very interesting developments that's kind of been brought about. So I am very curious to see what goes down in the next episode. Sadly, we will be waiting a little while because Supernatural is going on a break, much like a lot of stuff, and will not be returning until March 1st. So. And now moving on to this week's episode of Beyond. Quite a few things we need to kind of break down about this episode. Let's just kind of take some things. Like let's start off with like Yellow Jacket side of things. Obviously, good chunk of his episode, part of this episode was like, oh yeah, let's bury Richard. So that kind of sucked. Guy was like, oh yeah, he's like a mentor. He got me out of trouble. But it was kind of a situation of like, well, it was either him or me. And it's like, oh, what are you going to do now? And Yellow Jacket's like, well, I'm not going to run. So he goes to try and kill Tess. But actually took me by surprise. He actually didn't kill Tess. And his reasoning for not doing it was weird to me. Because his reasoning for it is like, the fact of the matter is you have a baby on the way. I don't know whether I would assume like it's Tess's wife that's pregnant. I would have just assumed because of Tess's current situation, cancer and all that. I wouldn't think she'd want to be in that situation, but nevertheless, it's like, oh, you have people that depend on you. You have your wife and child. It's like the reason why he fought tooth and nail, against Richard is because what pissed him off about the biggest part of that situation is, well, the fact of the matter is, like, my daughter was going to be taken away from me. I couldn't be there for it, and I'm not going to do that, and I'm not going to do that to your family. Which immediately that came in my head. I was like, wait, what? That's kind of bullshit. Because let's not forget who he killed in season 1. He killed Kevin, who was in exactly the same damn situation. Yes, you let him see his wife, but you didn't let Kevin go. I guess because Kevin's in a very different situation than Tess. Yes, you and Tess have beef. His biggest beef, and it turns out I was right about it. It is literally he did all this because for him it's like, oh, Tess treats me like a janitor. Like that's kind of what started it. Like he just had issues with Tess. It wasn't even just like at that. Well, it's a combination of that plus the way she's mismanaging Hollow Skies. But that was just like, oh my god. But like that's what I mean. Oh my god, is the fact is you literally killed Kevin and he was literally under the same circumstances and now his baby and his wife had to continue without him. It's like, what kind of reasoning is that? I didn't see you take that same reasoning with him. Once again, it's just because Kevin was a liability he had, because once again, it's that situation of like, this is for the greater good and he needed to be taken out of the equation, whether it's because, oh, that's what Frost wanted or because, at the end of the day, like, because he kind of reiterates in this episode, like Yellow Jacket is a true believer in this whole, in what Hollow Sky believes in the realm and the afterlife and everything. He's a true believer. So for him, it's like, if I have to make a few sacrifices, I don't think I made the same comparison last episode. If I have to crack a few eggs, then so be it. But like, that's what he looked at Kevin as. But since like Tess is the one that's leading Hollow Sky, and if she dies without Frost being there, the organization would kind of fall apart and everything they're trying to achieve would fall apart too. So she's kind of a necessary evil in this situation. Because earlier in the episode, we saw someone like an investor paying, and it's like, oh yeah, we're going to send you to the realm. I was like, can you even do that? You don't know how to do that, do you? Which I was like, well, they do have the machine. They can do it. The only reason why they wanted Holden there was just so Holden could show Frost the way and it would kind of be their guide. And I was like, oh, God, I mean, the realm isn't cut off from this world completely. Like, just because Holden destroyed a bridge, like that bridge, well, because I don't think the bridge wasn't what connected the realm and our world. It was just kind of connecting the realm to the afterlife. But I guess what should have been like the biggest sign was the fact of the matter is they weren't in the same room as the room that Frost was in at the end of season 1 when him, Holden, and Willow went onto the machine. Like, I guess I didn't really think much of it. I was like, oh, isn't this whole thing supposed to be a fraud? It's just supposed to just kind of be a money grab for Tess. But then it's like, oh no, that's not the case. Like, I was like, oh, so she is actually helping people or is she faking it? It's like, how are you going to do this whole thing? It's like, turns out she is faking it. Basically, everyone that's involved, she's basically putting them into cryo sleep. It's not like she's actually sending them into the machine because she doesn't really believe in this whole realm situation because like, oh, Frost hasn't come back from it, so what do we really know about it? So basically she's cryo freezing people, putting them almost in a coma-like state to make them either, you kind of get there by being in a coma, maybe that's her thinking, or rather it's just kind of, well, make you kind of get disposed of for a little while and then like we'll find a way to kind of bring you out, like, but maybe it is a situation of they are in the machine but they don't have Holden to kind of lead them there or whatever, like, because they do have that whole setup thing. So I do think it is a situation of like their consciousness is being sent to the realm, but they don't have anyone like holding kind to be their anchor and guiding them through or guiding them back. So maybe that's what it is. Or maybe she is legitimately just knocking on, because for her it's just called, she tells Yellow Jacket this is management. She has like a whole bunch of drawers filled with like people in this cryo sleep situation, because Yellow Jacket's like, the fact of the matter is this exists. Like Frost believed in everything. Once again, Tess isn't a true believer. So for her it's just like, well, we get the money from these people, and so welcome, you want to be a part of the team and everything, work with me on this whole situation, like us filling Frost's shoes. Well, here we are. This is, and it, because he's not just the only person. Subsequently, since Frost disappeared, it seems like in that 2 months it's been since season 1, she's just all these believers, because like she's kind of stuck with it, because like the leader's not there to kind of bring everything in focus, and she's kind of stuck running this business into something she doesn't really believe in. She can make a profit from it, sure, but it's like beyond that. So for now, it's just like keeping up the belief, like, oh yeah, they're all visiting their loved ones type of thing. So I don't know how she keeps that hush. I mean, to be fair, like Hollow Sky is very good at keeping stuff on the down low, so I guess that just kind of feeds into that. So you can definitely tell it bothers Yellow Jacket, because it's like, whoa, shit. You do see vital signs from Frost's body, even though it's not there. So, which is the question: why is it that we did see his vital signs, but his body wasn't there? Was that supposed to represent that it disappeared? Was that supposed to represent the fact that that's one of those things that's inside of Diego came and possessed his body? Like I said, because I just thought about that. I was like, well, because the last time we saw him, like, you know, you think Tess will kind of like give him special treatment, stuff like that, but his body wasn't like there. Like you saw a machine reading his vitals, but he wasn't there. So not less, it is implying that he's in one of those drawers. But then I was like, oh, what does that mean? He got possessed by one of those things? I don't know. I'm very interested to see what that all ends up turning out to be as the, you know, show continues. Other things that kind of went down in this episode, we do have Willa and Luke getting closer, and you see that even more with just a conversation that Luke has with Odin. He's like, yeah, man, she's, you know, tripping about, you know, Willa's worried about the whole aspect of like, well, her dad is, you know, Frost finding that out, and the possibility that Celeste, her mom, might be trapped in the realm. And then Odin's like, she told you that? He's like, it looks like, what? I don't know, maybe she did or you did, I don't know. And it's like, because, you know, it hits Holden, because it's like, she hasn't told me anything like that. I mean, she opens up a little bit, but it's like, it's to that point they don't share everything. Because I was almost thinking like Holden didn't tell her everything about what he's seen and what he's done. Because for her, it's like, because he says Willa kind of is telling him like it's just stress or guilt that's kind of manifesting in this shape or form of his powers and stuff and everything he's seeing. So she's kind of pushing it off, because even he's kind of like, all she's trying to do is put this whole realm stuff behind her, which, to be fair, the whole thing with Arthur and everything, it's enough to kind of make her, you know, want that even more, because, you know, that was what she always wanted. It's like, oh, like, we learned this season that, like, you know, she came and visited Holden because she wanted what they had in the realm to kind of be in this life, and, you know, she probably had these expectations of like, oh, what it'd be like to get back from the realm and everything and have that life. And it's like, I mean, it begs the question, has she ever had a normal life, especially with just circumstances around her and her family? You wouldn't think she's ever had one. I mean, outside of all of this, we don't really know much about her life. And that's kind of something that's said about her and Holden. They don't really know each other outside of the realm. Like, because the Holden that's there, even though he remembers and everything, he's a very different person than, you know, like I said, it was the circumstances they were in that led to them being who they were and kind of bringing that connection together. And also, like I said, Holden knows nothing about Will. Like, do you really know much about her personal life and stuff like that? Like, what she was up to in those 12 years, bouncing between this world and the realm, you know? So, but I also appreciate the fact is that Willa helped Luke out with the whole situation with Jay. She kicked his ass, like, blow to the throat, pushed him into his car, and start wailing on him repeatedly. And what I thought was kind of interesting too is like when Willa left it, she was smiling. It's like, I think she actually likes that. Like, I guess you can almost make the argument that she kind of like, she has that fighting streak in her. I think like she does enjoy that. Like, I mean, like I said, we've already shown that she is very capable on her own, can kick some serious ass, but I think there might be a part of her, just kind of the rebellious side of her, that just kind of enjoys that or something. And so, or maybe it just made her feel good because it's like, yeah, I kind of showed him what's what. Now Luke is good, which she doesn't even take credit for it later on, because she's like, oh, it was probably Riley or something that did it. And like Luke's like, I highly doubt, like, he knows that she had a part to play in that, which is so interesting, because I was wondering how that was all going to play out without the money he owed Jay and everything. Because it also kind of brings up more tension between Luke and Odin. Because the sad thing is, like, because he kind of brings it up a little this episode, but you can tell Luke kind of like holds a grudge against Holden for many different reasons. Because for him, it's like, even though it wasn't his fault, like everything that happened around Holden basically led to their family kind of falling apart. Mom and dad constantly yelling, because even Holden's like, do you think mom and dad would ever get back together? But it's like, no. Like for Ian, I mean, for him, it's like, if their mom Diane is happy with Ian they're happy separated, then that's fine. They shouldn't have to worry about getting back together, just to kind of fit some image of like a perfect family. You know, it seemed like Holden was kind of okay with, but I think, you know, it's just that aspect of like you miss so much of your life and it's just everything kind of passed you by. Because even asking like how bad did things get, and you know, Luke is like, they got bad. Because a lot of focus because he even brought it up earlier in season 1, like basically Holden became like his family's entire focus. He didn't really matter as much anymore. It's like, I was still here, but you know, mom was caught up in religion, and dad just kind of hid himself away. So, and then it's just also for him on top of it, it's like, you have these powers, but all you do is complain and whine about it. Like, you could have helped me out. The fact is, you didn't even notice I have a black eye, which, you know, it's like, which she's like, I tried to warn you about that whole situation. And it's like, see, you're whining, you're not helping me. I think it's, you know, because like Luke doesn't also think about the other side of things. It's because for Holden, it's like anytime he's ever used his powers, it's never really been for fun necessarily, which yes, he like that time at the beginning of the season is kind of one of the few times he's ever used it for recreational use. But more often than not, it's like, oh, he's in need of his powers. Like when he was trying to learn how to control them, but also like it's usually a life or death situation. So he's never had to like, there's been very rare situations where he's kind of drawn his powers out just to use them whenever. Because even later on with the whole freezer situation, he's trying to use them because Jeff's like, oh, why don't you use your power? And he's like, I've tried. So it's just, I think just because when he's stressed out and just everything that's happening, I think it's just kind of overwhelming him to the point he can't really use his abilities. So, but like you do see like a little bit of resentment from Luke from that. But Luke does kind of understand it a little bit because like he understands like, you know, after following Holden into the woods, like when Holden was sleepwalking, it's like, oh, maybe there's something more to this. They dig up that freezer and everything. And it's like, for Holden, it's like, I've been seeing this in my visions. Because I think because of the whole aspect of like wanting a normal life and everything, he's been so focused on that he's trying to be like, okay, these dreams, these visions, they're nothing. Like, I'm just being crazy. But now it's like, this is something he saw in his vision. That means everything he saw was true. What happens to him, what happens to Luke, what happens to their family, what happens to their home, to the world, it freaks him out. And to the point he kind of pisses Luke off because he's basically like, oh, what are you going to do? You want to make a cappuccino to help? Which it's just, you know, the fact of the matter is Holden's just stressed out. He's scared and he was caught up in the moment. He was lashing out. But Luke was like, I'm here for you. I'm trying to help and everything. And you kind of, you know, which, you know, Holden was in the wrong, but at the same time, it's like, you can understand this. Like, he's stressed out and he's scared and he doesn't know what to do. It's like, it's because, you know, he wanted a normal life and it's just like, no matter what he tries, it's like, especially for him, it's like on top of like nothing going the way he wants to with a normal life. It's like things with Willow aren't good. And on top of this, it's like, I might be the reason this all happened, you know, because his dreams, his kind of envisions of me kind of telling him it's because of what he did with the bridge that things are turning out this way. So for him, it's like, if anything happens to Luke, his family, or even to the world, it's on him. It's like all his fault for setting this all in motion. I thought it was kind of interesting that he ended up getting Jeff's help. So once again, that kind of goes back to that angle of like, oh, it shows you where they are and everything, because it's like, oh, the only person he can rely on with this. Because other than Luke, the only other kind of person outside of this situation who's in the know about this is Jeff. So we don't know if they ever got the freezer out because of Holden's vision, which I would assume that was the tundra, because, I mean, that's the only place in the realm that we really know of that has icy places like that. But he was climbing a mountain and he fell into some water and he ends up in kind of this, like, I don't know whether it's another world in the realm, but he ends up walking on some water and it's like a very, like, solar system type of design around the place. And he's walking forward and there's, like, a chair and someone's sitting in it. And it's like, what that's about, I don't know. Whether it's like, because, like I said, Holden remembers a lot of his time in the realm, but we don't know anything he would experience in those 12 years. Yes, he was with Arthur and Willa most of that time, but was it all of that time? Like we still don't even know the events up to him ending back up in his body. Like, what led to, you know, because you would think that's kind of an important question. Like, what made Holden decide to come back now? You know, and I think because he hasn't talked to Arthur subsequently since Arthur woke up either. So those are two people that haven't come together. And maybe it's just because Holden doesn't like, it just seems like all around everyone's scared of answers. I think Willa's scared of answers, especially for her, because she kind of wants the normalcy too, because Arthur's kind of saying, apologizing, because he's like, I've used you, I've made plenty of mistakes, I've lied to you and so many people. But for him, like, that the realm kind of has a pull on him, and there's no getting away from it, because for him it's like he feels that something's not right, and basically if he can fix the machine, then maybe it can fix whatever's going with the realm. Which my mind immediately goes, if you fix the machine, there's probably most likely a good chance whatever those things are that is in Diego will most likely have an easier way of crossing over into this world. Because I guess in a sense, when the bridge was destroyed, like, it tore, like, the way Holden and Willa got out, because like I said, last time we saw them, they were falling, so not less Holden kind of used his powers and ripped a hole into the other world, hence, and ripped a hole to their world so they can bring their consciousness back, that maybe he left the portal open, or maybe the bridge does have a connection to the real world, so it's not just about crossing over to the realm, that it actually, the afterlife, that bridge also kind of connects to this world as well, so I don't know. But what's really interesting to the fact is that whatever that suit, that freezer is, the person it has a connection to is Edgar, the one that's locked up in that mental facility. So they still haven't brought those connections together. Like, last time we saw him, he was asking to meet with Holden. So it's like, what is the connection there? Like, what's the connection between this and Diego? Because the thing is, like, Diego is one of those things, sure, but why is it that Holden felt that? Is that a manifestation of his powers to kind of give him a warning of like, oh yeah, connecting you to this person? Like, did his powers kind of like, because they're in this frenzy that they're in, trying to give him signs, that it reached out and touched Diego? Maybe Diego was much like Holden. Maybe like they have a similar gift or something like that, and it kind of, that's something we still haven't gone back to. So, I mean, which we kind of learned from Diego. Like, it was kind of interesting because he ended up telling that old lady his entire plan. I don't know whether that's supposed to represent, like, whether that old lady's still alive or whether he killed her before he took her car. But basically, it's like Holden needs to be taken, like, they're going to Holden because they want to remove him because he's an obstacle in the way. That basically, Elysium, which I guess is supposed to be kind of the name they're giving to Afterlife, because I guess, I don't know what Elysium comes from. Like, there's at least two things. I feel like there was something else recently. There's at least one other thing more recently that's come out that's video game wise that I won't talk about just because it's kind of a Nintendo property. But one particular video game came out with the name Elysium tied to it, and it kind of seems like a paradise type of thing. I feel like there was a movie with Matt Damon too, but I feel like there was something else. Like, I think that's what Elysium means, paradise, but I don't know what that's like, whether that's like Latin or something like that, like where that word stems from. But nevertheless, that basically their plan is to overrun the world. Like, once they get rid of Holden, like, Holden's probably the last thing kind of completely keeping them apart, like this world and that world, so that they can bleed over even more. Like, so for right now, he seems currently like the only one that's managed to come over. Who's the person in the chair from Holden's vision? Was that someone he met before? Like, that's a whole problem because it's hard to tell with Holden's visions, like, what's the past and what's the future, So was that something that he experienced from the future, or was that something he experienced in the past? Like I said, but at what point in time? Because it seemed like most of the time he was there, he was with Willa and Arthur. So when would he have an opportunity to do that? I don't know. This world, destroy this world so they can reshape it in how they want to. And I guess it kind of goes back to the whole fire thing too, because for them it's like, we were born from darkness and fire. So I guess that's the whole reason why they're trying to burn down the world, essentially, as they do in Holden's visions. So that's something interesting. It seems like he is getting closer and closer to Holden, and so that's definitely going to be interesting when that finally happens. Another thing that came up this episode too was Ian. Ian, you can tell, is very suspicious of Diane, and I think it's going to go back to what Jeff was kind of warning about, like, the FBI agent using them, basically putting them in danger, because, like, Ian has an inkling, because it's like, oh yeah, just guess who showed up at our helping hand meeting. It's like, oh, Jeff happens to be there, especially after everything that happened. Now, I try to play it cool and everything, but it's like, it still bothers him that Jeff pops up, and under such a calm manner, especially when he has Diane. Diane pulled away, but now she's all of a sudden pulling back, and it's like, oh, she's like, and Diane's like, oh, well, maybe we should, get away, because he's like, oh, maybe I should come, and she's like, oh, no. I was like, me, we should, Holden's about to be home soon, so it's like, well, why don't we take some time and, go away for a weekend? It's like, well, how about this weekend? She's like, this she wasn't expecting him to give her that. And she's like, all right, yeah, sure. And he's like, oh yeah, I can't wait. And when she's closing the door, you see the look on his face, because this is all a test. He's trying to see whether he can really trust her or not, because he thinks probably like the timing's just a little too suspicious. It's definitely going to be interesting. Like I said, you can tell that she's going deeper into this whole thing. Like I said, I still don't think Tom is 100% knowing that she's doing this, because like I said, they had the conversation about, oh, we should do this, but I don't know if he knows, because it hasn't really come up yet. They haven't even had time to sit down and talk about. Be fair, like nothing's, well, because she knows a little bit more about Hollow Sky's plan, but maybe like secretly she has been talking to Tom and we just don't know it yet. I don't know. I don't know if she's doing this all behind Tom's back or not, so. I don't think she is. Like I've said before, I don't think she is, because I think they are in this together, but we'll see. And then finally, the other part of this episode was Holden and Charlie. It brought up something interesting about their conversation. Her being like, she's like, oh yeah, here's the key. And he's like, wait, you took my truck? Which I guess in Holden's mind, maybe he always, I brought that up before. I was like, oh yeah, I never thought about the fact is that Charlie probably does have his truck and everything, until like I saw her with it like the other episode. But then I guess it's like a situation of either Holden thought like someone else stole it, or it was still in Colorado. I mean, it's not like he could sneak away and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to Colorado to get my truck. It's like, because how do you explain that away for like the past 2 months? I don't know. Maybe he just pretended like, you miss me constantly coming and going with it. I don't know. So like I said, I don't know whether he checked in on that, because it would have been a little suspicious if he just up and left to go to Colorado again and like, oh yeah, so, but, I also love that Randy guy, like, oh, you want me to take care of him? And even like, Holden's like, who is this guy? And she's like, okay, now go. I need you to go. And it's like, well, I'll call you. And Charlie, being the way she is, she pushes Holden away, saying like what they did. Yeah, it was fun, but it was a mistake. And she's just on the other side of the door, just please go away. Because it's already hard enough doing what she's doing, because she feels something towards Holden. And it's just like, it's going to make what she needs to do, taking down Arthur, that much more complicated. Took me by surprise when she just happens to break into that place. I'm surprised. I guess their security's not that good. Or just the fact, well, to be fair, we've seen Charlie break into Tessa's place, so it's not that big of a jump. But what took me by surprise is the fact that she had multiple opportunities to kill him, but she never did. Arthur didn't even know that she was in there, though he did eventually tell, Willa that he thinks someone broke in, but obviously she thinks he's just kind of confused. So Sally doesn't know how right he was. It's interesting, too, because I think one reason why she probably pulled back from it was because he saw Willa, and maybe Charlie knows about Willa or knew Willa in the past. Maybe there's something there, like, I don't know, I think that wasn't, maybe it's a combination of that, just not wanting to be a killer, maybe stuff that Annabelle said, and also seeing Holden just kind of prevented her from doing it, so I'm glad she did, because I don't want Charlie to have that, because that would have sucked too, because it also would have meant like killing the only family Willa has left too, so. But the fact that she saw Willa's face in the picture makes me go, I was halfway expecting them to run into each other this episode, but I think that's something that's going to happen because they made such a point to point out, like, oh, you see her looking at a picture of Willa and Arthur. Maybe that is kind of to make it a little more humane, that he isn't 100% the monster he is, that he does have people he cares about, that someone would miss him, so maybe that's that, but what really got me was the fact that she snuck into Holden's room. I'm like, whoa, you're just sneaking. And then she's cuddling up with him. I was like halfway expecting Holden not to wake up. And he's like, well, what are you? He's like, Charlie, what are you? She's just kind of like, shh. And she cuddles with him. I'm like, oh, that's so awesome. Which, once again, I want Charlie and Holden to be a thing. It's like, we're pushing that hard. Like I said, you're already setting up Luke and Willa. Let that be a thing. Like, because, like I said, it's been a while, so I don't remember everything I said when I was talking about season 1, but I'm pretty sure that's where my mindset was. I was like, I want Holden and Charlie to be a thing. They're so cute together. So, like I said, there's also the thing of just like I said, it's just a situation of she might be able to understand him better too, which is kind of interesting because it seems like everyone with powers from the realm seem to have something about, like, have been seeing these visions, but it doesn't seem like Charlie's necessarily gotten them. I wonder why. Is there a deeper connection between Holden and Edgar and Diego? Because even Diego himself was seeing it, but more so maybe that's the thing inside of him, feeding him those visions, like, oh, this is what I'm going to do to the world. This is what I planned for the world. I don't know. Like I said, it's just pushing that more and more. I was like, oh, Charlie and Holden. Cholden. No. Harley? Yeah. I think that'd probably be better. Harley would probably be a good one. So that'd be cute. And Lila, Wook. I don't know. I think Lila might be better. Maybe Lua, like L-U and L-A. Lula. Lucan. Well, I don't know. Either way. I don't know, like a lot of interesting things went down this episode. I caught a little bit of the next episode, the previews of the next episode, but I turned the TV and I was like, oh, no, don't spoil me. So I'm very interested to see where all this takes us going into the next episode. So, but really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and good